This morning, a correction officer is out of the hospital and now recovering after being attacked and slashed yesterday over at Rikers Island, allegedly by gang members. The gash so deep, we're actually blurring this image. He is the 6th officer attacked in the past few weeks, highlighting the harsh realities of what is happening over at Rikers and city jails. So this morning we are joined by the president of the Correction Officers Benevolent Association, Elias Husamudeen, and the correction officer who was attacked yesterday, Officer Babinski. So good morning to both of you, and thank you for coming in this morning.
Good morning.
Officer Babinski, let's talk about first with you this morning. 9 stitches to your forehead. What exactly happened in this unit yesterday?
Well, yesterday, while assuming post that was involved in the use of force incident, where multiple inmates were involved in that, and it was only a couple officers on the floor that steadily take care of up to 50 inmates, often of the same affiliation, gang affiliation. That was basically the story.
But how did the incident happen where you guys slashed in the forehead? What exactly? Do you even know what happened?
The inmate and I was changing a couple hits. It was the investigation still ongoing. I can't comment much on that. But they have weapons. These inmates are housed in the same housing area based on their gang affiliation to keep the assault numbers low, to keep the slashing numbers low. But at the same time, that takes away our control from us over these jails.
So you're saying 50 inmates in this unit yesterday, predominantly of what gang?
That specific housing area was Blood.
Bloods. Now, the Department of Corrections actually told us in recent weeks that they house inmates based on their gang affiliation to create a balance. So they'll put 10 Bloods, 10 Trinitarios, for example, in the same unit to create a balance. Elias, you said that's not happening?
Unfortunately, they're lying. I said it before, I'll say it again. They're lying. The house that Officer Babinski was in is a predominantly Blood house, and even the other gangs that's in that house are subdivisions of the Bloods. So, again, they're just misrepresenting the truth, and they're lying. Unfortunately, I'm here again with you, Dan, because here's another correction officer who is a victim of gang violence and gang assault, and all because of the policy put in place by the mayor and continuously enforced by Commissioner Brand.
The Department of Corrections did release a statement about your attack, Officer Babinski. I want to put it up on the screen and get your reaction to it. So let's take a look right here, where they actually say in this statement that the inmates will be rearrested and then placed in punitive segregation. Anyone involved will be rearrested and placed in punitive segregation. Now, you're saying, Officer Babinski, that oftentimes that is not the case because punitive segregation doesn't exist for inmates below 21, but this inmate was older than 21. So how do you feel about this?
He was. Look, there's one man who has the power to give us back control over these jails and reverse the direction that this department is heading, which is not a good direction. This man is Mayor de Blasio, who has taken away our punitive segregation, the one small tool we have to control these jails, and to provide some kind of deterrence for these inmates to act up.
Would you feel safer? Is that the tool that you want as a correction officer to feel safe going to work?
That is the tool that would give us a little bit more control over these jails, which we have lost in recent years.
And that's one of the tools, in addition to the disciplinary sanctions that the union have been calling for. I've submitted proposal after proposal to the city as to what can be done in order to create the safer jails, and they're not listening. Unfortunately, Dan, the mayor is the biggest inmate advocate in the city of New York, and he's doing everything that he can to ensure that the inmates are at some type of Holiday Inn, as with his press release yesterday with the jails and what he wants to do, and parking and their own kitchen and things.
Well, I want to get into that. Yesterday, they actually released their plans of shutting down Rikers, focusing on these 4 community-based jails throughout 4 different boroughs, in a way to hopefully lessen the inmate population, but create a safer environment for officers. Did you hear the plan, and how do you feel about it?
I can't comment much on that, but in reality, bringing the same policies, the same inmates, same officers, same staff from one building to another, just merely changing the location, I fail personally to see how that would change any of the violence and the issues that we have going on.
Today, you're protesting outside of City Hall. You've done this a number of times. Is it making a difference? Do you see a change with what you're doing, and what are you doing today?
Well, we're hoping that today we're hoping to bring more light to the situation by being at City Hall, by exposing this mayor again. And honestly, Dan, right now my members are angry. They're upset. They feel very alone. They feel like the mayor of the city of New York does not care anything about them, and basically he doesn't. When you look at what's happening to the MTA workers and other workers throughout this city that's being assaulted and beaten, and his only answer is to build new jails, to take $23 billion and build 4 new jails in the city of New York, as opposed to dealing with the fact that today the jails are unsafe. So what, like he said, what difference is it going to make what building it is if you're not addressing the issue of safety?
And you will be bringing officers along to have protests
The
today.
officers will be there.
Can't let you go with actually talking about what actually happened yesterday, switching gears just with the Department of Investigation arresting a correction officer that had smuggled in marijuana, saying that it created a hostile and dangerous work environment. As the president of the union, I just have to get your response on that arrest yesterday.
Saying that who?
The Department of Investigation and DA Darcel Clark said that this officer was arrested for bringing in marijuana and that it fostered a hostile and dangerous work environment.
There's no comment. There's nothing for me to comment on. If an officer, inmate, anybody break the law, anybody break the rules, then they have to pay, they have to answer. There's nothing to comment about that. What's more important is that I have 11,000 members who come to work and do their job, put on this uniform to protect this city. And I would like for Darcel Clark to speak about that. I would like for DOI to speak about that. I would like for the mayor to speak about that. Speak about what New York City correction officers do every day to keep this city safe and not allow things like this to happen.
Are you going to go back to work? Do you feel safe going back to work?
There's always going to be safety issues at work. It's not the most safest job there is, but I feel like with the help of the union and the way the officers are making their voices heard, I think we have potential to make these jails safer and make them more functional.
So you are going to go back?
Of course.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in and sharing your story this morning, and I hope you a speedy recovery and that you're feeling better. Elias, thank you as well for coming in. We appreciate you both for joining.